أهلاً ومرحباً بكم أعزائي الطلاب في جامعة الجامعة الذكية التي من خلالها سنناقش واحدة من أبرز الموضوعات البالغة الأهمية. شاكرين كل الحضور الكريم على الوقت الذي أرادوا قضائه برفقتنا اليوم. نرحب اليوم بالأستاذ والدكتور محمود صلوحة الذي قام بتدريس القيادة مع معلمها البروفيسور كواستنبوم على مدار ال20 عاماً الماضية في الولايات المتحدة الأمريكية في جامعة كاليفورنيا في بيركلي وجامعة واشنطن وشيكاغو في أوروبا بروسيلز وفي سايل وليل والمملكة المتحدة وأفريقيا. نود أن نشكره على تواجده معنا اليوم. Well, I'd like to introduce himself to all of you. Thank you, Doctor. You can start now.
Okay, thank you very much. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. Good morning, everybody. I don't know if you can hear me properly because the connection seems to be an issue from where you are, Salma. So anyway, can you guys hear me very well? Very good.
Yes, Doctor, I can hear you well. Yes.
Okay, very good, very good. Ahlan wa sahlan. Welcome, everybody. Thank you very much again for being here. Usually before starting a new session, I love to go over what we have talked about in the last session. So I don't know if everybody is already on the panel, all those who attended last week are able to attend or not. Do we have all the past attendants on the panel? Can somebody remind me what they have learned, what really impacted them from the last session before we move to the next session? Anyone who want to remind us what they, basically what they took away, what was their takeaway from last session? Come on, don't be shy. Hello, anyone? Okay, looks like, okay, no one want to jump. Now, if you recall, in the last session, I asked you to work, to start working on your life, on the life of, to start mapping your life, basically, okay? So here I will show you how to be your own consultant, because so far what we have done, we have lived, I will say for most of us, we have lived an ordinary life up until here. Not to say that there's something wrong with that, right? Because we have done everything that we were told. But if you recall, let me go back to some of the figure that we talk about. If you recall, when I displayed this image to you, I said, basically, I'm a member of a community, meaning that to belong to this community, definitely there are certain rules that I should abide by, okay? And the other point that I mentioned was that, as a young child, basically belonging to this community means I have, there's an area that is fixed and closed for me. You know, if you are French, here in France, this is how it is. If you are Egyptian, this is how it is. If you are from Palestine or from Sudan, from Saudi Arabia, etc., this is how things are here, right? If you are, regardless of who you are, you know, as a child, you grow up in a community where this community have a set rules. Could be law, could be family, could be culture, etc. Then on the other hand, you have also a fixed and closed area where you are given some options. You can choose. Okay, if you are not comfortable with A, then you have B or C, and you are given some alternative. But when you are a child, your zone of freedom is a little bit large. Okay, so basically, you will see that a child is a joyful person. A child is always happy. It takes motivated adult to make the child unhappy. And often what we find is that, you know, children are spontaneous, right? Their area of freedom is large, okay? So let's say I'm here in the office, you know, imagine I'm in a room filled of people. If I start jumping on the table, you know, the next thing you know, security will come in and probably take me to psychiatric hospital. But when the child is doing that, you know, we will first assess the environment and see if it's not dangerous, but we will jump, you know, case in point. You know, we always take the children to the playground where they can jump, get dirty, etc., etc. So as we grow up, things get tougher and rude from to ourselves. So we are, you know, the next thing we know is that this area of freedom that we have is shrinking, right? And that's why you will often find people that are in their mid-20s and they have lost the smile. You know, as you move forward in your mid-30s, you are, you know, anxious, constantly anxious, depressed, and to some extent, you are people who are totally unhappy, basically. Now, what happened then is that, you know, we talk about, you know, enlarging this area of freedom because I owe it to myself. Nothing says that I have to live the life of unhappiness, okay? However, the life that we have been living up until now have not prepared us to really take advantage of the potential that we have, because we have been looking at the answer outside, whereas the real answer is inside, right? So now, with this said, I have gone through educational system, which means, you know, now I'm able to see things differently. I'm able to feel things differently. But then I have a question because there's this blanket agreement where I shook hands without knowing. Now I'm exposed to more information, to more knowledge, and so on. I am able to question some of the preset, rules, etc. Okay, so the courage, the language, the vocabulary that are necessary are absent because I was not properly prepared to deal with the ongoing challenges, life challenges, okay? So today, what we are going to do is we will use the leadership diamond as one of the tools that will allow me to access the I am, the me personally. Basically, it will allow me to take off all the masks that I have been putting. Because again, here, belonging is important. I want to belong, therefore I will play it safe, right? Then the next thing is that things have changed. Then I will always put another mask. When I'm outside at work, I will put a different mask. When I'm with friends, I will put different masks. When I'm with my parent, my spouse, etc., etc. Okay? So basically, we need to offer to the world our authentic self. This is the most important part. That's what people pay for it, right? Basically, when people come in, if I'm a coffee shop, if I have 1 million people coming in, they will be coming for the coffee and they want the same coffee, right? So what happened is that it should be easier for me to manufacture that coffee to many people. But because we try to fake it all the time, it drains a lot of energy on us. And remember last week, when I talk about some of the general reality, is that, we are in undecisiveness, not knowing where we are going, not focusing on our real purpose, etc., etc. So here, what I will say is that we are going to start going a little bit deeper in how do I, as a person, offer the best of me to the world, okay? So with this, we will talk. I know one of the sisters asked the question about philosophical alliance, right? And I told you to hold on, we will get to that, okay? So hopefully the time will permit us and we will go into detail on how to enlarge this zone of freedom, right? What do we mean by philosophical alliance, okay? So this is our plan of today. So objective is to learn how to start enlarging our zone of freedom without going into conflict or without hurting anyone, but by offering our authentic self to our environment, family, etc., and spouse, etc. Okay. So with this said, what I would like today is to talk about to start talking about the leadership diamond, okay? So if you recall last week, we started, then the time didn't allow us to move. Now, the purpose of this is to say, now, we have agreed on the assumption that everybody have the potential to be a leader, right? Even the 4-year-old child is a leader, because if we base this assumption on the fact that leaders make choices, they decide, right? So we will upgrade the definition of the leadership that we know up until now. Our definition of leadership is someone who is able to mobilize a group of people toward certain objective. So here, the leadership cannot be only limited to the fact that I have influence over people, right? As individuals, I'm a leader. I have the potential, which means I will develop all the work on the different attributes that allow me to be a good leader, okay? An accepted leader, a respected leader, and the leader that everybody wants to look like, right? Not by trying to mimic and be someone else. So basically, I want to give you my authenticity, the authentic self, okay? So now, with this said, let's say we talked about last week about start migrating from leadership 1.0 to leadership 2.0. And later on, we will talk about leadership 3.0, okay? But now, let's focus on leadership 1.0 to 3.0. What you will find is that the child, remember, you know, the difference between an adult and a child is that the child always think in terms of me, 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 me. My parent will take care of me, my boss will take care of me, my company will take care of me, my government will take care of me, etc., etc. Okay, so here I will migrate from others will take care of me to I am responsible for the whole. Okay, so I love playing with the word responsible, because it's it could be a compound word, responsible, meaning that I'm able to respond to the request, right? The next is narcissism. Now I will migrate from thinking about me only to others, you know, generosity. Remember, I told you one of the things that I told you, you know, in our introductory class, you know, I share with you that one of my favorite fruit is mango, right? And we took the analogy of a mango trees. You know, if the mango trees does not produce the mangoes, what happened? We'll cut down the tree, right? But also, we realize that the mango tree doesn't produce the mango for its own consumption. It produces mangoes for others, okay? So here, I will move from narcissism to generosity. It's no longer about me. I will migrate from micro changes, you know, accounting, right? And so on, to macro change, right? And plus, you know, I will say, Alhamdulillah, we are mostly Muslims here. And we know that, you know, we believe that Allah yarzuqu man yasha, meaning that basically Allah is in charge of our rizq, basically, right? So when we start accounting and thinking in terms of, oh, me, if I do this micro calculation, that doesn't take us anywhere, right? You know, all this will only slow us down for the grand purpose for which we are here on earth, right? It's not tomorrow. A lot of time we procrastinate. That's one of the biggest diseases that we have. Well, when I get married, I will do this. When I buy myself a house, I will do this. When I do this, I will do this. When I do this, I will do this. When this happens, I will do this, etc. No, all these are distraction, okay? So basically here, what I want to do is that I want to focus on the now, you know, because now is when I start taking charge, because I am responsible, and being responsible means basically I focus on what is needed, what is required, what is expected from me. I matter, I rules become the market matter, the market rules. Here, I say the market is anything outside you, and we'll see it later when we talk about the leadership diamond as the lenses through which you see the world and the world see you. When I say the market, is that we will talk about the fact that me as individual, finally, what it boils down to, I'm in business, finally. You know, basically, when I'm with my wife, we are in a business transaction, you know, client, supplier, because my wife, she need from me is affection, right? And in exchange, also, I need affection. When I'm with my children, we have this transaction. When I'm with my parents, my friends, etc., it's all about transaction. So if you focus on understanding what your client wants, definitely you are more likely to provide them with exact product that they want, right? And a lot of time, you know, I was one of my PhD student. He's from UAE, United Arab Emirates. He did his PhD here with me on program management and leadership. Okay, and it turns out his wife was American, right? And usually the tradition here at Schema is that once you do your defense, then we all now you are doctor now, so we will break the now you are one of us, okay? So then we will go and have lunch and just talk as a family, because now as a friends, colleague, and so on. Now, and he was sharing some of the cultural challenge that he has. He said for Valentine, he bought a Rolex watch to his American wife, and she was not happy at all. You know, she, out of respect, oh, thank you, honey, and all of that, right? And every time she will complain, you didn't do anything for her. No, actually, it was her anniversary or their wedding anniversary, something like that. And she, well, you know, she will be complaining. He's like, you know, what is your problem? You know, I planned on this and I bought you this beautiful Rolex watch. And then, but you didn't show me any enthusiasm. Say, but you didn't offer me a flower, right? So basically, showing love for her, you know, is that you as a client, as a supplier, excuse me, you know, the flower is way cheaper than a Rolex watch, right? But you see, you miss the point. Because let's say, you know, let's stick with our example of coffee shop. When you go to the coffee shop, you are very precise on definitely. Actually, he didn't take the time to study and understand his wife. Someone said, I have a question. Go ahead. What is your question? Dina. Dina, you have a question? Hello?
Dina, please raise your hand. Dina, if you have a question, please raise your hand.
Yeah, she mentioned that she has a question.
Questions? Okay, you can ask in the chat, Dina. Okay.
Okay, she said, okay. Oh, it's about mask. Yes, go ahead, please. Go ahead.
Okay, you can ask Dina.
Yeah, the mask the people used to put. Okay, what about it? Okay, okay, Dina, if you can, I have known many people, yes. Okay, Dina, why don't we do this? But their character did not change to the bad. Yes. Okay, so basically, you know, to address your question partially, Dina, they are still joyful. Well, you know, one of the challenge is that you see here, some people will create a fictionary reality. And we always see them happy, joyful, and we know but for sure they are lying, they are not authentic, basically. What's important here is what you feel inside. That's the most important. The fact that they look happy and joyful doesn't mean they are really happy and joyful, okay? So here, one of the rules when you embark into the journey of this your own leadership development is that you start by rule number one, you stop judging or condemning anyone, including you, okay? And we'll do an exercise in relation to that, okay? So, but there are many people, I agree with you, that will put the mask, they will keep faking it. But when you start scratching the surface and going deeper, you realize that they are so much damaged. You know, damaged to the point where you will not believe it, right? So that's not the most important part. You know, here is that and when we will talk about the inner diamond, when we say going deeper, it means that, you know, we decide not to be superficial anymore, okay? So here, you know, basically, when you come in, you know, this is the authentic me, and which is more easier and more accessible to anyone, okay? Dina raised her hand. Dina, is that you? You want to speak now? Okay, thank you, Dina. Okay, so anyway, so here I will say, instead of talking about self-serving, I will be service-oriented. And, you know, if you are a believer, someone who has faith, right? Definitely, we know for sure that doing for others can only increase us, you know, but if you do it with sincerity, what happened is that we have moved into linear thinking and linear, basically, operating in a linear way, meaning that I press on, then I want to see light. I press off, I want to see darkness, right? I give you, I want to see the smile. No, you know, what is the meaning behind you giving? What is the meaning behind you being generous? And we have all this potential. Instead of thinking about taking, you start by giving. When, you know, and we will see this a lot in the Western world. You know, we talk about eat or be eaten, right? And, you know, I was amazed during my years in America, sometimes, you know, when you do things, people like, okay, how do I compensate you? Say, no, actually, you don't have to. No, but you gave me some. I say, no, doesn't work that way. From where I come, we are, it's called our own generosity or solidarity, right? So basically, we are in the culture of giving, and in our tradition also, it means that when you do give zakat or sadaqah, or you help someone who is in need, right? So we should be able to feel the joys and so on, right? And, we move, the next is problem solving or band-aid, or problem A, solution B. Okay, you have this problem, then this is the, no. Here, we are talking about transformation, changing my worldview, right? I was told that children should be slapped. But what does that mean? I was told that, if you are strong, you crush the weak. I was, no. Now I will start changing my worldview, changing the way I see things, okay? So now, with all this in mind, okay, we have the list, next week, we are going to talk about the other list, okay? So I would like to jump here on the topic on the leadership diamond. So now that you have all this objective in mind, 1.0, narcissism from self-serving others, etc. And I want you to keep those in mind while we are moving, okay? So we talk about leadership diamond, we talk about Professor Peter Kastenbaum, the founder of the leadership diamond, okay? I have studied under him for the past 20 years, okay? So what is the leadership diamond? We talk about that. I'm not going to come back to that, okay? So what I would like you to do, if you recall last week, when we did the ontograph map of your life, I said, you need to look at where you belong. Let's say if you are, I will say, 40 years old or 45 years old, you should be somewhere here. So basically, you should put an X here, right? And then what I ask you to do is to look at, select 2 or 3 moments of your life, right? When you were joyful, okay? So I'm going to put an X here as example, right? And I will put that even in green, okay? So just to show you how to use this ontograph, okay? So, I put that in green and bold, right? And I will even increase it, okay? Okay, very good. So, this is when I complete high school, right? So let's say here, I will put 1X here, right? Are you guys with me? Are you with me or are you lost? Okay, very good. Thank you. Thank you. Second is that I will put age 21 here. Maybe this is when I got married, right? Then I will put 1, 21, 22, 23. Okay, and here I will put the moment when I had my first child. Okay, so now what I want you to do is that the next thing is I want you to look at some of the area of your life here, right? I have put for you here 8 area of your life, okay? It could be in terms of personal goals, health and body, career and education, recreation, financial contribution to charity, spiritual development. And then I want you to try to relate the, how can I say it? I want you to try to relate those moments of joy with those areas of your life in terms of career, relationship with parents, with relationship with other finance and all of that, okay? Now, look at, list what are the elements that make you feel very joyful at that moment, okay? Just make the list, oh, here I was joyful because I completed my high school. Basically, I was joyful because I was able to prove to my teacher, my uncle, or my aunt, or even to my friend that I will make it. They never trust me. They never believe in me, right? Now, maybe my parents were so happy for me. Finally, or, etc. It could be anything, right? And then here, maybe when I was married, it could be when I was married, or when I got accepted to this prestigious university, or I signed my first contract, right? What makes me joyful? Oh, wow, because I never thought I would be there, basically inside myself. I know some of my limitation, and sometimes I'm surprised, wow, I made it finally, right? So I want you to start writing down the different things that make this moment special for you, right? And this is an exercise that I ask you to do, when you have a quiet moment, usually in the evening and all of that. If you have children, try to ask them to leave you alone. If you have wife or husband, then, ask the permission to retreat, to get this retreat, right? And do the exercise, okay? Then the next thing I want you to do is to start looking at the different pattern in, you have made the list. Okay, when I signed my first contract, I was happy because A, B, C, D. And then when I get married, I was really happy because. And then when I completed high school or what have you, when I have my first child, then now you will start to look at the different, the correlation between the different lists. And you will start drawing a pattern of what really matters for you, okay? And that's when you start owning who you are, okay? So this is your exercise and personal work, okay? Now, let's move on. The reason why we want to do this exercise is because, if you are here, and many of you have been attending this class regularly, it's because, definitely you want a brighter future for yourself, right? And so your future is created by what you do today, not tomorrow, right? Once you say, I am, you start saying, I am me. When you start owning who you are, because you are a good leader. A good leader are accountable for the outcome, right? So if you are a good leader, you are migrating from, oh, it's not my fault. My government did that. My parent did that. My husband did that. My wife did that. My children, etc. Instead of blaming other, you are, I am, responsible. If I'm here today, it's because I have taken bad decisions. And those bad decisions have led me to the situation that I am in today, right? And how do I correct this? Because at the end of the day, believe me, and you know that, right? You are the only one suffering. I was telling to one of my leadership student, this week in the leadership development program that I have here in France, right? I said, you see, think about it. As long as you remember, you always go to bed with yourself and you wake up in the morning with yourself and you spend the whole day with yourself. Basically, 24/7, you live with yourself. So why don't the purpose of this is to make the cohabitation, a nice and a pleasant one, right? So here, the I am experience, the I incorporated, I as a business, is that I am giving you the best of myself. And this will be consistent. If you are 100 client or 1 million client or only one client, it's irrelevant because this is the authentic me, okay? So with that, you can come up with your own list, okay? Here, for the sake of the class, I have listed 8 areas in life. As I told you, I was trained by Professor Peter Kostenbaum, right? And he was in his top high, 20 years ago when I started studying with him. Peter, you can Google Peter Kostenbaum or the Leadership Diamond. When I design a program, leadership program, as I told you last week in Versailles with Peter, we charge $12,500 for 1 week. And people will just come in and so on, right? Because, he is the one who came up with the concept of philosophy in business. And philosophy means what? You start questioning the ethic of things, right? When you are questioning, you are not blaming, right? So you start looking at the meaning of things. So Peter told me in that critical moment of my life where I'm here in America, having lived in Africa, having lived in Europe, now living in America, running program and so on, where I'm asking all kinds of questions. Am I African? Well, around me are all executive American. Okay, am I Black? Around me, mostly white people. Am I Muslim? But around me, only, Christian and Jews. And all this kind of question comes and disturb you, right? Because so far I have been playing safe and all of that, right? So here, the first thing you want is in reconciling with yourself, is to take the responsibility. I realize that as a Muslim, I need to be consistent with that, right? Now, to you, maybe this might be something that you might not understand. But when you are here in the West, and we've seen a lot of our brethren, right, that have changed their name just to be westernized, right? Because they are not consistent with themselves. Basically, because I'm putting things in my intellect. And you will see Muhammad will be Mo, right? Jamal will be Jem or Jim. right? Etc., etc. We've seen that, right? Why? Because, oh, why do you give this such a name to your children? Well, because I don't want them to have problem finding jobs, right? But you know, sorry for being sarcastic here, but in my case, you know, I should just change my name and be Jacques Dupont, and then go and clean myself to be a little bit white, right? So basically, my point here is that you have to assume the fact that who you are. And when you are consistent with them, with that, people finally accept you better, right? So then your personal goals. These are things you want to do, right? Things you want to be and what you want to have. Very important. And you have to be specific in the things that you want, right? And we did the exercise, you know, this little exercise that we did allow us to start defining our goals, having a vision, our grand strategy for ourselves. And this is revised and fine-tuned as you go. Remember when we did the exercise, what did I say? You know, basically most people are living their life being average. You know, it's like this big ship going on the ocean, not going and trying to keep balance and so on, where, you know, they are indecisive, not taking procrastination, etc. No, 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 no. When you go to the coffee shop, right? Well, you are very precise. You don't go to the coffee shop and say, well, you know, I don't want coffee with milk. I don't want coffee with vanilla. I don't have a cappuccino. I don't want, no, 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 no. When you go to coffee shop, you know exactly what you want. You know, I want a cappuccino with cream and a little bit of vanilla on it and so on. Or, you know, if you are about ice cream, you know, my favorite ice cream is pistachio ice cream, right? And I'm serious about my pistachio ice cream. You know, I want my pistachio ice cream, you know, with little spark of chocolate nut in and with some nuts or what have you, right? So basically, you need to be clear with what you want in life, right? You know, if you ask me today, what is my biggest goal in life is that I'm like, you know, I would love to apply for the Nobel Prize for education. This is my personal goal, right? I'm doing whatever it takes. Why? Because I believe that education is the solution to any problem. And why is that? Because, you know, I'm not saying I think education is a solution to all problems. What I'm telling you is that I believe that, and I'm convinced that education is the solution to any problem. And I didn't go far away to go and study and so on. I just had to look at my situation. You know, many years ago, as I told you, in my personal life, I used to be a street boy. For those of you who have been to Africa, you know, you will see those kids that are wandering around. And this is me, right? And thanks to education, I was able to write a program and to run this program on NASA campus in California. I was able to take an underprivileged like me from Morocco and take them to do a robotic class in America. And the education was what allowed me to do that. Meaning that some people are just living in the dark, right? You know, with no hope, no vision, etc. But then now thanks to education, you are able to clear the cloud that is in front of them, and they are ready to live a greater life, to unleash their potential to benefit the whole world, right? So basically, you have to have a personal goal. And this is not to be done alone, right? You have to do it by managing your relationship. Later, we will talk about the concept of OQP that I have developed. Only quality people, right? What type of relationship do you want to have? In terms of friendship, family, romantic, co-workers, etc. You need to define what are the type of people you want around you, right? Are they people who allow you or challenge you to grow, or are there people who drag you down, right? Some people are naturally pessimistic. Whenever you come to them with good ideas, they will like, yes, but, right? Whenever you tell them about something great to come, they are like, well, they always see the bad side of things, etc., right? So basically, get away from those people. Your health and body, I will say your health, both mental, emotional, and physical health, right? What do you feed your body with? What do you feed your mind with? What do you feed your emotion or your feeling with, right? Career and education. And I will say, alhamdulillah, all of you here are exceptional because, we are on Saturday. You have all reason not to be here, but guess what? You are here listening to me. So I will say, basically, you are responsible and you are in charge, basically, of your education. And of course, the fact that you are embarking on this long journey doesn't mean you will be a person that is always, no, you need to have some recreational activities, right? What are your hobbies? What are your sport, movie time? My hobby is cartoons, right? I will watch the same cartoon movie over and over again. My children used to hate cartoons, right? Because once they watch it once and then it's over. Me, I love cartoons, right? And, there's nothing wrong about that. I love playing. Tom and Jerry is my favorite. Very good. You see, I'm not the only one, right? My favorite is Shrek, Shrek, Madagascar, all those animation, right? And because the more you look at these cartoons, the more you realize, finally, there are many things to learn in human behavior, in how you deal with others, right? So basically, you need to have a hobby, right? And then financial income, right? You need to be realistic. When we will talk about the leadership diamond, one of the corner of the diamond, the outer diamond, is reality. That's the merchant in all of us, meaning that, I have to do the accounting. Basically, my dream is to own a big house, right? But what if you are not able to pay for the electricity bills? Or if you are in the West, you are not able to pay for your monthly mortgage or what have you, right? So you need to be clear with your income, your finance, right? And finally, for this list, your contribution, because it's natural for us, right? We naturally love to help others. It's something that that allow you to grow, because for once, when you are helping others, when you are doing something for others, it allows you to get out of your situation and discover something. And therefore you will see that helping others, doing charity or what have you, allow you to have different perspective in life. Okay, so it's very important. So these are the 8 areas that I want you to keep in your mind, okay, as we move forward. Now, we have this. So we talk about the leadership diamond, okay? So the 4 corners, this is our leadership capacity. So how are we going to use those 4 corners of the leadership diamond, right? We said, you know, we talk about the 8 areas of life. We talk about migrating from leadership 1.0 to leadership 2.0. So what we have seen here in generic, now we are going to start putting this into a structural leadership development that is personal. At the end of the day, you know, people will love me not because because of who I am, but because of what I'm offering to the world, right? You know, if the mango trees is giving good mangoes, then we will take care of the mangoes, right? Because finally, you know, being useful to others is the key element here. So we said the leadership capacity is made of 4 corners, right? Courage, ethic. You know, you cannot live in this life without a minimum of courage, right? You know, coming here, driving from my home to my office is 35-minute drive. It's about 50 kilometers, right? But it takes a courage, right? Because there might be an accident or what have you, right? You know, for you to be here listening to this class, definitely it takes a courage to cancel all the meeting, to tell your friend or colleague, sorry, I need to work on myself, right? You know, basically, I need to resharpen my axe. We will talk about this later, right? So it takes a courage to to live, basically. The next corner of the diamond is ethics. Why am I talking about courage and ethics? Because you will see that ethics and courage are in polarity, which means my courage will be supported by the fact that I have to be a decent person, right? Example, something is wrong, right? Something is wrong with me. I see something wrong. I have to take the courage to do that because that's the right thing to do, okay? Case in point, I live in Lille. I'm currently in Lille, okay? And during my trip here to the office, I was listening to the radio. There are 2 buildings in the center of Lille that have collapsed. Actually, you can Google that on Google News. Building that collapsed in the center of Lille. These are what they call immeubles bourgeois, meaning that it's really only wealthy people can have that, okay? Not really. I mean, courage, you know, I will get to that, okay? Don't worry, I will get to that, Dina, okay? So, being ethic means I have to be a decent person, meaning that I have to do what is right all the time, right? Now, let me give you a good example. You know, you can Google and Lille, L-I-L-L-E. Lille is the city in the northern France. This night at 9 a.m., 2 buildings have collapsed, right? How did that happen? A young man at 3 in the morning today was going home, and he saw that the wall of this building is crooked. He's like, this is not right. Okay? We are talking about 3 a.m. in the morning, right? Nobody's around, right? And he did call the security, the police, and the fire department and say, hey, there's something wrong here. And at this building, at these 2 buildings, the wall is kind of crooked, and maybe you guys need to find out and investigate. Fire department came, the mayor came, the police came, everybody came, and they vacate the people that the inhabitant in those 2 buildings. And 9 a.m. in the morning, the 2 buildings just collapsed. And the mayor of Lille was saying, you know, I'm not emotionally stable while talking to you, because I was just thinking to myself, had this boy, young man, just moved out and without calling, maybe we will be counting how many dead people today, right? But we know Qadarullah, right? So here, my point is that courage means, you know, we will see that, is that taking initiative, right? And when you take initiative, and this will be supported by the fact that you have to be a decent person, okay? And we will look at the fact that ethic, courage, reality, vision, both have the soft side and the hard side, okay? The next 2 corners of the outer diamond are reality and vision, right? What do I mean by that? Vision means what? Grand strategy. So basically, the example I gave to you was, I want to own a big house, or I want to drive a Ferrari, for example, right? But do you have enough money to pay for the insurance? Do you have enough money to pay for the gasoline that goes into the Ferrari, right, etc.? So basically, you have to have a vision of, you know, about yourself, your life, and about things. But at the same time, you have to be connected to the reality, right? So on one hand, you know, you cannot live a life with courage, taking initiative. On the other hand, you take initiative by being a decent person, right? On the other hand, you have to have a vision, anticipate the future, but also connected to the reality, okay? So now let's look at the diamond as, you know, as the 2-way lenses through which you see the world, right? And through which the world also sees you. What does it mean? It means that we have to have a minimum of basic system thinking, right? Remember, we are here migrating from leadership 1.0 to leadership 2.0, meaning that you have to have your own grand strategy. So you have to start thinking beyond me, but thinking in general, right? That means what? Courage is emergence, right? When situation comes in, what do I do? Ethics means what? Adaptability. And vision means unpredictability, uncontrollability of situation, because, you know, we do not have the tools to anticipate or to read what will come to in the future, right? So, but I will be ready to deal with all the complexity that will come with the reality, right? So, you know, which means my creativity, innovation, and so on, okay? So here, your map of being become you as individual on one side, and then everything on the other side, right? So you need to, now that you have decided to take off all the different masks, right? You are in the process of coming up with the new definition of you, who you are. And this definition should be fully aligned with who you are in the inside. I gave you the analogy, coffee machine. Whenever you go to the coffee machine, 1 time, 10 times, 100,000, million times, you know, the coffee serves its purpose. When you go to the mango trees serve its purpose. When you go to the peach tree, the date trees, the palm trees, they all serve their purpose. So when we come to you, the real question is, when I come to you, what should I expect? What do you offer to the world? What do you offer to us? I know that if I go to the kebab or a fish or seafood restaurant, right? Or a gourmet restaurant or pastry restaurant or ice cream factory or chocolate factory, I know what to expect. But when we come to you, what do we expect? What should we expect? This is the question that you want to ask, right? And you can answer this only by knowing who you are. Why? Because on one hand, we observe you as a system, and this could be your boss, your colleague, your subordinate, your employees, your parents, your brothers and sisters, your children, your spouse, etc. Anything that is not you, observe you. Now, the complexity in that is they are all different. We are all different. What do I mean by we are all different is that some of us are into grand strategy, vision, creativity. Some of us will have their entry as, is it right or wrong? Ethics. Some of them is, wow, am I going to be able to show how courageous I am, etc. And some of them will be, I need to know that 1 + 1 = 2, you know, could be courage, ethic, reality, or vision. It doesn't matter. You need to take in account who you are and be able to speak the language of vision to those who look at things from the vision perspective. You should be able to speak the language of ethic to those who look at things from ethic perspective, and you should be able to speak the language of courage to those who look at things from courage perspective, and you should be able to speak the language of reality to those who look at things from the reality perspective, which means your leadership diamond becomes, you know, at every single point, a corner of the diamond is split into two, because being into this leadership development doesn't mean being naive or gullible or someone that could be fooled easily, right? So courage become.
I found this on the web.
sorry, Siri. So courage is split into two. Your courage means getting started. As I said, you are self-starter, right? The harsh part of courage is risk and venture. But you also have the soft side or the feminine side that is initiative and commitment, right? Ethics means being a decent person. And these have two sides as well. The harsh part is principle, integrity, justice, right? But the soft side is what? Compassion, love, forgiveness, empathy. These are the soft side of your ethic here. Vision become, how do I bring it all together to make sense and give hope, right? Because if you take hope, then life becomes very depressing. Part of the reason why some of you attend this class is, one reason is, definitely I want to pass the class and get my diploma, my degrees, my certificate. Or some will, I want to learn something to grow. I want to learn, etc., right? So basically, here, the harsh side is thinking big and being strategic about life. And the soft side is your creativity, spontaneity, and innovation, and working with your imagination and all of that. On the other side, we have reality. Reality, that's the tough one, because, you know, we often fail to deal with reality. Reality means facing things, facing life as it is, not as I wish it is, okay? Remember when I said some of the challenge that we have, most people are average, right? You know, we are, when, if only things were, I wish I was, I wish, no, stop. Reality means you face reality for what it is, not for what you think or you hope it should be. And the harsh part of reality is hardness, right? Objectivity, facts, right? Enemies, there are people who will decide to hate you, right? Just because you exist, people will decide to envy you, right? And people will decide to just wish you were dead, you know. So what did I do to deserve that? You know, just, I don't know, but I just hate you. That's reality, right? So get it. There are people who will love you unconditionally, right? And the soft side of reality is defeat, being overwhelmed, dying, surviving, etc. Okay, so these are the two elements of your leadership development, journey. Okay, now once we have that, what is the next part? So we saw that if we are to package all this together, is that my leadership development depend heavily on me, okay? As we saw it here, is that basically 80% in my leadership development depend on me, depend on my character, authenticity, maturity, philosophy of the person, and my willingness. And 20% require from me certain level of expertise, know-how, competence, skills, etc., etc., etc. But what happened is that this is book learned, right? This is book learned. Basically, I went to school, I learned engineering, I learned this, I learned that, etc. But now to succeed and to make the breakthrough difference is that I have to do it with others, right? So some people have been to school in an English-speaking context. Some have been in a Chinese-speaking context, some in Arabic-speaking context. And we are saying the world in which we are living is global today. So you cannot live and say, I'm just Cameroonian, or I'm just Nigerian, I'm just Saudi, I'm just Palestinian, I'm just Egyptian, or what have you. I will just be doing things on my own. No, it doesn't work anymore. We live in a global world, and many people understand that, right? You will buy or sell to a foreign company. You will source some of your work or some of the expertise to foreign company or in foreign personnel, etc., etc., etc. So definitely now we have to pass all those cultural or national boundaries. So last week we talked about different type of people that we meet in our work space, okay? So now, if we look at the leadership diamond now in practice, remember what I said, in my leadership development, 80% depend on me, right? So here, my character, authenticity, maturity, philosophy, my willingness, and so on and so forth will determine the result that I will have as a leader, right? So when we get to practice, now courage means what? To me, I will freely choose not to be coward, right? To be a courageous person, meaning that I speak truth to power, as said Alexander, right? Identity, the warrior, the competitor, and the fighter in all of us, right? I have to survive. So basically, every time I'm facing hardship, I will choose the attitude of initiative, right? I will choose the attitude of determination. I will manage my own fear. I will live at the edge. I will take risk, right? I will, be a self-starter, right? So basically here, I have to overcome all my mediocrity, right? So basically, I will awaken the real human being that is in me. And there's a study that was done. I don't recall the reference, but it says that when you take away the survival instinct of the living being, will it be animal and so on? And basically you condemn them, right? So here, and we will see that, you will see that, and this study, there's another study that looked at the journey of the migrants, those who are migrating from poor environment to less poor or wealthy environment. They are hard workers, their survival instinct is awakened. Whereas when you wake up, everything is there and so on. The tendency is to take everything for granted. So here, when we say courage, it means what? I have to awaken and maintain the warrior and the fighter in all of us, okay? So, and to do that, there are a few questions that I have to ask myself, regardless of where I am. What will success require from you? What do I need to do, that I have been avoiding all the time? Sometimes we know that I have to do this, but I will always find excuses, find reason not to do it. What are you afraid of? Sometimes you have to face your own fear. Being afraid is a normal human feeling, right? And we know it. But how do you manage your fear? You know, well, I'm afraid that people will laugh at me, right? Very good, thank you. To confront your fear is courage, right? It takes a lot of courage to confront your fears, right? So basically, you have to be courageous enough to confront your own fear, right? And you will see that once you start putting yourself in the process, you start looking, because you have a greater vision of yourself, you realize that finally those fears were invented by yourself, right? So the first supreme polarity is that you need to be realistic as well, in that, you know, you have to look at what is changing in business today, in politics, in economy, in society, in our industry, in my team, in my life, in my family, and so on. And ask yourself, what act of courage will life ask of you in these coming years, right? And am I ready to respond, or what do I need to respond, right? Or how do I think I should respond, right? Because we are moving to being proactive, right? Today we have been living the life where we always allow things, you know, and especially, you know, I did a leadership in my leadership class in Morocco. You know, I always love to collect culturally, you know, cultural belief, right? So, you know, I will always make fun of my student, right? With my student, you know, we have fun in my classes, you know, it's not a class where you come and so, you know, we have fun and we spend 2-3 days together. So let's have fun, make it a joyful moment, okay? So basically, I will ask my student and say, well, what are the common beliefs here? You know, people will say, well, here we have our joker, you know, our golden ticket, right? We say maktub, right? So I didn't activate the courage that life requires from me or situation require from me. I say, maktub. And when you say maktub, everybody backed up. No, right? And to the point where in the general communication is that when somebody comes, let's say the train is leaving at 2 p.m. and if you show up at 5 minutes past 2, the train is gone. You know, the common language is in communication. If you have Moroccan friends, you know, you can share this with them. They will be like, well, you know, they will not say I missed the train, but it will be the train left me, right? The train left me, right? And, you know, or somebody hit the wall because they didn't pay attention. They will say the wall hit me, right? So basically here, courage means for you to face those type of reality and being responsible, right? You know, I show up 5 minutes late and the train was gone. I missed the train. I am the one who missed the train. And I knew that the train was leaving at 2 or 2:30 and I show up 5 minutes later, right? I didn't pay attention. I was looking at my telephone and then the wall hit me. No, I didn't pay attention and then I bumped into the wall. You know, there's a sense of ownership and accountability, which means even my language will start changing, right? And please, you know, look in your culture, in the way we were brought up, and you will see that there are common belief system that doesn't make sense. And if you start if you're in Morocco, instead of speaking, the train left me, you start saying, no, I've been irresponsible. Sir, I'm sorry, I'm late because I show up late at the train station, right? What's wrong with you? That's not the way we speak here, right? No, sir, I was the one at fault. That's a courage as well, okay? So the next is ethics. Ethics means what? I freely choose to be a decent person, right? If I'm Muslim, I will be a decent Muslim. If I'm Christian, I will be a decent Christian. If I'm, I'm French, I will be a decent French, etc., 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 right? And, remember what we said, ethics have a soft side and a harsh side. The harsh side means what? Principle, right? Law. Whereas here, as said, Mahatma Gandhi is that an eye for an eye will end up creating a village full of blind people, right? So sometimes we need to investigate. We need to have the courage to activate the understanding, right? We need to, let me tell you, let me share a story with you guys, okay? In 2014, I was in Morocco with my American partner and friend, Joe Kitterman, because we were working on the project of creating the African Aerospace and Advanced Manufacturing Institute, okay? So, it was a VIP treatment, mashallah, imagine he's from America, and then the Moroccan authority, just rolled, we are very good in hosting. And, we visited governor, wilaya, and minister, and all of that. So it was a VIP tour, basically. And then we visited a university, a school. So every time, in this VIP tour, you eat, you drink, and then you go to the toilet and all of that, especially when you drink a lot of teas, right? So basically every time the toilet that we go were VIP toilet and all of that. And we visited a small university that was where we were to implement the center, because the idea was not to penalize a small town and so on. And then my friend Joe saw toilet, and he went to the toilet, and then he couldn't find any toilet paper or soap. And then he didn't say anything. Now, after our tour, and then, the Moroccan government put at our disposal a driver and a car to take us to Marrakesh and for a cultural tour. Now, as we were going to Marrakesh, he looked at me and said, Salou, I have a question for you. And he looked at me in the eyes and said, we are friends, no BS, tell me the truth. I say, okay. You have been bragging about the Moroccan hospitality, how they are nice, etc., etc. And what kind of nice people are not able to even put the toilet paper for their student? I'm like, wow, I didn't saw that coming. So you see here, usually, right? If we are not present, we will be like, yeah, this is wrong, and we will go in the sense just to be friendly, right? But here, if you are consistent and present, looking at things for what they are, you know, that's when your mind is also still, when you are confronted with tough question like that. So I look at my friend Joe and say, you know, because I understand, I'm American in the way I operate, but I know also how to be French European, I know how to be Africans, and I know how to be Muslim, right? So I look at my friend and I said, look, sir, Joe, you know, that's a good question and a tough one. But this is not a question that I can just say, yes, black or white. So I say, you know, Joe, when you look at me, do you think I'm poor? He said, no, you are far, far away from being poor, right? But I say, I have a very, very poor background, right? So I said, I'm going to answer your question. I will allow you to find the answer to your question. I said, look, whenever I go to travel to Africa, you will see me with a suitcase filled with those little soap and cream and all of that, right? That I collect from different hotels because I travel a lot. And I figure out, you know, when the hotel charge me, they go based on the fact that I will use 1, 2, 3, 4, right? So I said, you know, by taking those little soap and all of that, it's just collecting my income, especially they will put shampoo. And you can see my head. This is the tallest hair I ever had, right? So I collect those and so on. And I will even tell the hotel that I love those and can I have some? So I said, you know, not because I need them, right? Because, you know, from where I come and from the different world that I live, you know, I feel like, you know, I can just take it there. He looked at me and said, but I do that as well. I said, but do you need that? You are running, you own a multi-million-dollar operation. So do I, right? But do we need that? No, but we just do it. So I said here, you see, we live in countries where the government do not have enough resources. If the government put toilet paper or soap, maybe the custodian will take those paper for their own personal use because they are so poor at home. Even some of the students are so poor, right? That they will take some for their own personal use. It's not that the government cannot put it, it's just because government have limited resources and they have to just put it as peanut butter in different areas. So you cannot look at the country, some of the country with your American lenses. The poverty is real in Africa. Isn't that why we are here? He looked at me and his colleague looked at me. He's like, wow, Salou, in 5 minutes, you just explained to us a 2-week seminar on understanding poverty, right? So here is the empathy that we talk about in ethics, meaning that empathy is not something that is passive, that I give you my ears and listen to you, right? It's something that is dynamic, meaning that I should be able to understand you inside, right? So when I look at you, if you are from Egypt, if you are from Nigeria, if you are from Saudi Arabia, right? When you ask a question, you know, I should be able to do the effort of translating that question into the cultural, emotional, etc., 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 right? And this is what we mean by migrating from linear thinking, linear operation to, because, you know, again, it's easy to blame and label everyone. You guys are corrupt, you guys are this and that, etc., right? You know, for example, case in point, we the Arabs or we the Muslims are always in the caring. So I don't want to embarrass the other person. Therefore, whatever the other person asks me, I would say, yeah. I will not say no blankly, because we live in what we call high context culture, right? High context culture means things could have different meaning as well, right? So when you are dealing with Africa, for example, right? Africans, when you ask, can you do this? People will say, yes, I will do it. But the yes doesn't mean I will do it exactly how you understand. The yes means I'm not going to say no to you, because if I say no, means embarrassment, will mean shame, will mean insult, and so on and so forth. If you do not do the effort that ethic require from you, the empathy associated with ethic required from you, it doesn't work. And that's why when we talk about the different area of your life, the spiritual, cultural aspect is come into account, right? So the authenticity matter here, right? Next, it means that to develop your decency, now that you understood you are in charge, you are accountable, then the next is you start asking yourself questions. Remember we said, developing your philosophic alliance. Philosophy means asking questions, not giving answer. The child, when they say A, you want B, you know, and I remember my daughter, right? Thank you very much, Dina. We live in the gray and we don't like the white very much. I agree with you, right? Okay, so my daughter, when she was little, you know, my son, my oldest son, he's 25, right? So when he was little, you know, boys are different. When he come, Daddy, can I do this? I say, do you have to? He said, never mind, and he will just go, right? But my daughter, by the time, when she was 5, 6, she figured out, she's like, and she will come to me and say, hey, Dad, just say yes or no. Then she asked the question, right? She's like, no, stay here, right? Then I look at her, and the challenge now is on me because she took the time to observe, right? Why? Because the way we are brought up, Mom, can I have the ice cream? Yes. Then no, that's it, right? But here, you know, when you are in charge of your leadership development, now you start asking questions. What does it mean to be a decent person in this situation? I live in France. What does it mean to be a decent person in France? I live in Nigeria. What does it mean to be a decent person in Nigeria? I live in Saudi Arabia. What does it mean to be a decent person in Saudi Arabia? I live in Egypt, right? What does it mean to be a decent person? What is the likely impact on others? Because it's no longer, remember, in Leadership 1.0 is I matter. It's all about me. Now, It's no longer about me. What does it mean to live, to belong here, right? How my people see what you are doing and, unscrupulous, basically not challenging or insulting. What will you do if no one were looking at you, right? You'll recall what I told you about the incident that happened in Lille this night. That's a good example. A young man, very young man, coming back home at 3 a.m. in the morning with nobody around. And I see something that is not perfect, right? I will stop and fix it, right? And you see, subhanallah, we have the answer in our Islamic tradition. Because in the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Allah says in the Quran, Kuntum khayrun ummatin ukhrijat linnas. Why? Because ata'amuruna bil ma'ruf wa tanhauna 'anil munkar. Right? So basically, naturally, we are decent. And we know that ilman wa hikmah, right? So when I have my vector diagram, basically here, the ilm comes here, the hikmah come here, right? I'm not into the business of challenging others, right? Right? Okay? So basically, who might be negatively impacted by what you are proposing, right? So I need to take in account, there's no sense of humiliating the people who are around, right? And we will see it later. When you are harsh, people run away and you don't get anything, right? There's this beautiful story in our Islamic story, right? Where Hassan and Hussein, the grandchildren of Sayyidina Ali, they saw one of the uncle, doing wudu in the wrong way, right? They didn't went to him and say, hey, look, Ammi, you are old and you don't even know how to do wudu or what have you, right? And they went to him and say, Ammi, yeah, these are, okay, grandchildren of the Prophet. Okay, thank you very much. Jazakallah khair, right? So they didn't go in the challenging way to see this Ammi and say, you don't know how to perform wudu, right? They went to him and say, hey, my brother and I are in competition. We want you to be the judge. Oh, sure. And we are going to do wudu. And you tell us who's the best among us. As soon as they finish, the army understood that these young people, these young boys were here to teach me in a best way, right? So here, ethic means doing what is right, but not my way, not by being parochial or ethnocentric. We, the Black people, are doing this way. We, the Arab, are doing, we, the white, we, the American, we, the French, or what have you. That is being indecent, parochial, ethnocentric, and it doesn't work, right? Why? Because at the end of the day, I'm dealing with people, right? So sometimes, we do things unintentionally. So what might be the unintended consequences of what I'm doing, right? So next is reality and vision. So, and I'm looking at the time in here for the time that is left. Do we have any questions so far, any comment? so that we can do the reality and vision in our next session. Any question, any comment? Hello? Hello? Are you guys there? No. Thank you. Oh no, Rana, there's no question. The class is supposed to be interactive. If no question, I will say, how about comment? Comment, right? I don't want my class to be only one way. I want to be able to hear from you also, right? So what do you think about what you heard? There's Omar. Are you there? Omar, and I see Saleh Sadiq. Saleh, are you there? Dina already spoke. And Dina and Muhammad are the one who have been participating. Come on, guys. It's supposed to be interactive. Yes, how about comment? Okay, so can you elaborate a little bit more, Rana? Can you elaborate a little bit more? Okay, so today you guys are so quiet. You have decided that I will be the only one speaking. How to be able to join any culture, right? Okay, well, I will say that basically, first of all, before you join any culture, remember, when you study cultural diversity, okay, Rana have a very bad flu. Allah shafi'at, inshallah. May Allah give you, a best healing, okay? So, your relationship with others, a lot of time, we will try to please the others, and we will forget the most important one, right? So basically, the beginning for you should always be starting with what pleases you, right? Do you know who you are? Do you know your culture, right? Are you happy with who you are, right? Let me give you an example. Me personally, I am Hausa and I'm Fulani as well, right? And also from my mother's side, I am Bantu. These are, we have enemies from my mother's side, right? So right early on, you are challenged, because now, you can start closing yourself to others, right? But when you look at the reality, you cannot refuse your history as well. Why? Because, if you look at your history, our parents and ancestors migrate. Hausa people are natural nomad. Hausa and Fulani are nomad. So that's how they marched from Nigeria and ended up arriving to to populate the southern part of Cameroon. And then when they go there, they are merchants, and they will be, they will trade in, and many local will say, we want to be Hausa, basically by saying we want to be Muslim, because they saw that the tradition of this merchant is more fair, because basically they feed the poor among us, regardless of we are from them or not. And when they are trading, they trade with fairness, and they are trustworthy, right? And that's how some will bring their children and say, we want our children to grow up in your community. And many of the children become Muslim like that, right? And it happened, and we saw it in Asia as well, right? It was Yemeni trader who went to Indonesia, I believe, and Malaysia, and they were so fair that people adopted. So here, when you understand your story, then now you are comfortable with who you are. And there are people naturally who will hate you for who you are. But then we will respond in the negative way. No, 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 you are wrong, except no, but the first question is, what is it that in my culture, in my tradition, in my family that you don't like? And you will realize that it's just free hatred. Do you want to waste your time and energy dealing with those? No, because you have a greater view of yourself. I am more than just taking care of your egocentric, non-educated opinion about me, right? So once you understand who you are and what is your purpose in life, then definitely your culture doesn't matter anymore, right? So basically, you start elevating yourself because things are bigger. And are you black, white, yellow, African, Middle Eastern, American, French, Chinese, Indian, and all of that? We as human beings have the same need and ambition. I want security for myself and children and my family. I want success, right? So yeah, definitely, when you depend on the lenses that you put, right? And it's always enriching to, when you meet any culture. Let me put it this way. Once a brother shared with me, I'm a big fan of Hassan al-Basri in his teaching, right? And there's a saying of Hassan al-Basri that goes like this. He said, even when I'm convinced that I am right in an argument, I will go ahead and say I am right only 95% of the time, which means the other person is right 5%. So because I care about myself and my development, I will listen to them so that I can get the 5% that I miss. Because as a human being, there are always an element of subjectivity. Okay, so he's a very educated and cultural person, Hassan. Oh yeah, definitely. I am, if you guys happen to have all the wisdom and any knowledge about Hassan al-Basri, please share them with me, okay? So I'm a big fan of Hassan al-Basri because, he is, he has so much wisdom, right? Yeah. So now, thank you very much for sharing. So basically, in your culture, regardless of your culture, definitely you have to deal with the subjectivity of your culture. And if you have subjectivity in your culture, it means that the others have their own level of subjectivity as well, okay? So this is what I wanted to share with you guys in this class, okay? I look at the time here. If there's if there's a question, I can address the question or comment. Any comment? Okay, no comment and no question. So I will say thank you very much. Maybe, you know, we are going to close, right? Okay. And
Yes.
if you don't
Thank
have
you.
any question, okay? Yeah.
Okay, doctor, thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you. Okay.
Dear student, at the end of the day, thank you for your good listening and interaction about the Global Leadership course. A message from me with love and appreciation and respect. And thanks to my professor and doctor with who is aligned us with science and knowledge. We are grateful to our professor who act as guiding stars in the shaping our lives in the right path. Really, you are incredible professor with high knowledge. Thank you, doctor. We would like to thank Dr. Mahmoud Salouha for being with us today. Thank you all. السادة الحضور والضيوف الكرام، في نهاية اليوم نشكركم على حسن استماعكم وتفاعلكم حول دورة القيادة العالمية. ونود أن نشكر الدكتور محمود صلوحة على تواجده معنا اليوم. رسالة مني بالمحبة والتقدير والاحترام والشكر لأستاذي ودكتوري الذي أنار دربنا بالعلم والمعرفة، فشكرا لك ما قدمت وما تقدم، وشكرا لك بألف لغة، وشكرا لكم جميعا، والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Thank you, doctor.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. And thank you all. Alhamdulillah. Okay.